Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. James Gunn shared a video talking about what his new plan for the DCU is, his and Peter Safran's plan. And I've not seen the video. I was at school. And I'm very excited to watch this. I really want to see what he's going to do with the new DC universe. So let's check this out. I'm also going to share my thoughts on what the DCU is like right now and what I would expect it to be like in the future after the video is done. So because right now I really want to check this out, and it's #1 on trending. So I'm assuming there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in here.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now,
okay, I'm glad he straight out the gate addressed that, the fact that we're gonna still have outside of the DCU stuff, or DCU now. I'm very excited to see what the next Joker is going to be like, the Batman is going to be like. So I'm glad that he addressed that that's not going to be part of the main DCU.
Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
Okay, so he talked about the new stuff that's coming right now. So I'm glad that he addressed that too, because I'm assuming some of it's still going to play an impact into what the new DC universe is going to be like. But I'm not sure what that's going to be like, so I'm just going to let him explain for the next few minutes.
So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it.
All right, I wanted to say this earlier, but I wanted to listen to it first. I really enjoyed Peacemaker, so I'm glad we're going to get kind of a spin-off of that. I understand that a lot of people are going to be angry that the Peacemaker is there in the new universe, but all the other DCU stuff is not there. But I kind of get it, because the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker was never really connected with the main DC universe, like the Snyder story. So I get that. I get why someone would be angry about that. But at the same time, I get why he's choosing to incorporate some of those characters into his new universe.
Next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different
I don't know
look
who these characters
at superheroes.
are, so I don't
We're
know
doing
much
a
about
television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is
before we move on, I love Batman. Batman's probably my favorite superhero, and I loved Robert Pattinson's new iteration of the Batman and Matt Reeves directing it. And this looks pretty interesting. The fact that Robin's going to be a part of it is interesting because I don't know how they're going to do a live action version of Damian Wayne because he's very young, and making that work in a live action movie it's probably really hard because he's a child and he has to fight all these other people. But I'm assuming James Gunn's going to find a way to make it work, so I'm excited for that. And as a huge Batman fan, that excites me a lot to know that we're going to get a live-action version of Robin that's probably going to be taken seriously. And I'm also very excited to see what his new iteration of Superman is going to be like, but he didn't say much about the story itself. He just said that he's writing it, so I'm excited for that too. But we don't know much about it. But right now, the biggest one so far for me is the Batman and Robin story, so I'm excited for that.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
All right, so let me know in the comments, what did you guys think of James Gunn's new iteration of the DC Universe and what he's going to do with it? Now, I am kind of frustrated with what's going on at the DCU right now because I personally really like the DCU that came before. I know most people don't, but I enjoy it quite a bit. There's quite a few movies that I think are very, very enjoyable. And I understand that a lot of people don't, which is why I'm excited for this new iteration of the DCU to see if we're going to see new characters and people are actually going to like this version of the DC Universe more than they did before. Because what Snyder did, although I personally loved, although there's a lot of people that do really enjoy it, for the most part, it did not end up being the success that they were hoping it would. So I understand why they moved on from that and why they're completely rebooting the franchise. Because even a movie like Black Adam that stars Dwayne Johnson and has like a great cast and really interesting CGI and stuff like that, even that couldn't make enough money. So although I really like the DC universe that came before, I'm glad that they're moving on from that and trying to do something different with this universe. No, I do kind of wish they also did not incorporate like the video games and animated stuff. I think incorporating all that stuff kind of makes it a little bit hard to follow, which I think Marvel has done a great job of, is because they really incorporate the TV shows and movies together, even though they only recently started doing the TV shows. What I think works about them though is that you could just jump onto any movie and still understand what's going on for the most part and still get the main gist of the events. Even if you go watch Avengers Infinity War and Endgame by themselves, you're still gonna have a good time because you're still gonna understand what's going on. You won't get the nuances of it, but you'll still understand what's happening. And I hope he's able to do that with the DC universe, because I'm not gonna be going and watching all the animated shows. I'm not gonna be watching or playing all the video games. So to me, it's not gonna be like everything's not gonna be clear if he makes all of them extremely interconnected. So I hope he finds a way to make each standalone project on its own just accessible to the viewer. And I'm glad he said that storytelling is key and he's going to give the directors and people working on the films freedom to do what they like, but also kind of setting the limits to this universe. So I'm kind of glad he mentioned that. And also I'm really glad he addressed that the Batman is not going to be part of this. It's going to be its own separate thing. So right now I'm very excited for the DC universe. One thing I will say I'm kind of annoyed about is the whole thing with the fact that some characters are returning, like from the Suicide Squad, and Shazam might show up here and there. At least James Gunn said that he might. We don't know for sure though. So I don't understand why some characters from the previous DCU are returning, but some characters like Superman and Batman, the ones that are actually really important, are not coming back. Like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are not going to be there anymore. And Ben Affleck, I really like his Batman. Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman. So seeing both of them come back would be great. So I don't understand why certain characters are coming back and certain characters are not. I'm sure there's a good explanation for it. And he did say the Flash is going to kind of reset the whole timeline. So we're going to see a new version of the DC universe because of the Flash and the events that happened in that movie. So I'm sure the Flash is going to explain a lot of things more. And as we get closer to this gods and monsters phase of this DC universe, I think we'll get a lot more understanding of what's happening here. But I'm still a little bit confused and annoyed by the fact that we're having some characters return, but the big ones like Superman and Batman not return. Although I would have loved to see Snyder's vision continue after Zack Snyder's Justice League. As much as I love his story, I'm glad that they're moving on. I'm glad that they're trying to do something different, because even though I really enjoyed it, for the most part, it didn't end up working out, the DCEU. So I hope this new DC universe works out. And I'm glad that DC has its own studio now with its own two heads. So I'm really glad that that's happening. And I really enjoyed the video. I think it's really insightful. Although there's a lot of smaller projects that I don't know much about. Even Man-Thing, I'm surprised that they're doing Man-Thing, because it's not a character that's necessarily everyone knows him. He's not a popular character. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see where James Gunn's vision for the DC universe goes. I think he's a great creator. I think he's a great director. But let's hope he ends up making a great DC universe as well. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on this new DC universe slate. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think about it? If you enjoyed my video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.